Skinner v. State. Annotate this case: Skinner v. State 2009 OKCR 19210P, 3D 840, case number F 2007-1101, decided June 11, 2009. Gordon Todd Skinner, Appellant versus State of Oklahoma, Appellee. Opinion. Chappell, Judge. 1. Gordon Todd Skinner was charged and convicted of conspiracy to commit kidnapping AFCF, under 21 OS, 2001, Section 421, Count I, kidnapping AFCF, under 21 OS, 2001, Section 741, Count 2, an assault and battery with a dangerous weapon AFCF, under 21 OS, 2001, Section 645, Count 3, in the District Court of Tulsa County, Case No. CF 2003-4213, 1. In accord with the jury's recommendation, the Honorable Gordon D. McAllister sentenced Skinner to imprisonment for 30 years and a $10,000 fine on Count I, imprisonment for 60 years and a $10,000 fine on Count 2, and imprisonment for life and a $10,000 fine on Count 3, to be served consecutively. 2. Skinner is properly before the court on direct appeal. 2. Even a careful review of the record in this case leaves unanswered many questions about what exactly happened to 18-year-old Brandon Green, beginning over the 4th of July weekend in 2003, at the hands of defendant Gordon Todd Skinner, and with the assistance of his co-defendants Crystal N. Cole Skinner, Cole, and William Ernest Hawk. 3. It is even more unclear why it happened. 3. What is fairly clear, however, is that Green joined Skinner and Cole, who were staying at the downtown Tulsa DoubleTree Hotel, in early July of 2003. 4. Skinner was known for hosting gatherings at this and other locations, where illegal psychedelic drugs would be given out, often as own concoctions and often as part of a pseudo-religious ceremony that Skinner would lead. Green was expecting to party with Skinner and Cole and to prepare for some kind of business venture with Skinner, which involved harbor dredging work in the Caribbean. Green considered Skinner to be his friend and referred to Cole, whom he had been dating for a few months, as his girlfriend, even though she had apparently just married Skinner. Cole had previously been involved with Skinner, but she had recently been trying to get away from him, with the help of Green, because Skinner was so violent and controlling. 4. It is also clear that on July 3, 2003, at the request of Skinner, Green drove from Tulsa to Oklahoma City to pick up Bill Hawk, whom Green had not met previously, and bring him back to the hotel. Hawk was a truck driver and had a long history of working for and with Skinner, and he expected to be involved in the dredging venture. Hawk had his own room on a different floor and was in and out of the hotel and Skinner's rooms over the next 5 days. Meanwhile, Cole remained in and around the adjoining 14th floor rooms during this same time. The exact extent of Hawk and Cole's willing participation in the subsequent kidnapping and torture of Green at the hotel was a matter of some dispute at trial, but there was no dispute among the testifying witnesses who were there at the time. Green, Hawk, Cole, and later Christy Roberts that Skinner was very much running the show. 6. On the other hand, Hawk and Cole freely admitted that they did nothing to try to stop Skinner and that they made no effort to get Green any kind of help, even though they could see his injuries and hear him moaning in pain and begging for help. 7. Nor did they contact law enforcement authorities or anyone else on Green's behalf. 5. Brandon Green remembers that on July 4, 2003, he voluntarily ingested several of what Skinner described as the Eucharist, believing that the Catholic communion wafers that Skinner provided would be laced with LSD. As on previous occasions when Skinner had given them to Green, Green expected that the wafers would cause him to trip, but instead he was rendered completely unconscious. 8. Green testified that his next memory was of waking up naked on the hotel bathroom floor, with his hands, legs, and mouth duct taped, and with Skinner standing over him, kicking him in the groin area as hard as he could and saying, "You should never have touched my fiancé. You should never have touched my fiancé." 9. Green remembers that he eventually passed out during this assault and that when he woke up, Skinner was kneeling over him with a hypodermic needle, injecting something into his penis. Green's comprehension then got extremely blurry, and he has very few clear memories of the incredible torture that he was subjected to over the next 4 days at the Tulsa DoubleTree and then at a Houston area motel after that. 6. Evidence presented at trial established that the torture at the Tulsa hotel included numerous and repeated injections by Skinner into Green's penis, testicles, buttocks, and other parts of his body. with the apparent dual purpose of permanently disabling and disfiguring Green sexually and of keeping him in a prolonged state of unconsciousness while he was being physically, sexually, and emotionally assaulted by Skinner. 10. Skinner also brutally punched and kicked Green in the genitals, lifted Green's unconscious buddy up off the bed by grabbing him at the base of his genitals. 11. And wrapped a phone cord about Green's penis, put his foot on Green's stomach, and jerked until he heard the cartilage snap. 7. Christy Roberts testified at trial that she met Green, Skinner, and Cole earlier in 2003, that she had taken psychedelic drugs provided by Skinner, including the Eucharist, and that she had a very close friendship with Skinner. Roberts testified that she stopped by the hotel during the early morning hours of July 2, 2003, but then did not return to the hotel until late evening on July 5, after being picked up by Hawk in Green's car. After chatting with Skinner and Cole, Roberts discovered Green lying on the bed in room 1411 in a sedated state. 12. Skinner and Cole told her that Green had tried to keep up with Skinner taking the Eucharist. Roberts left again that night and did not return until the next night. 8. When Roberts arrived on July 6 and asked where Skinner and Green were, Cole directed her to room 1411, saying, "It's not as bad as it looks." Roberts found Green lying on the bathroom floor, with duct tape around his head and face, his hands duct taped to his feet behind him, and with a KFC cup over his penis. Roberts testified that Green was very upset, tripping really hard, and that when she finally got the duct tape off his mouth, he was talking but not making a lot of sense. 13. Roberts testified that Cole told her that Green had gotten into something, the green liquid, and that Roberts should wear socks on her hands and not touch any of the substance that was on Green. 9. Roberts testified that as she gave Green a bath, he started saying that his balls were hurting and that Skinner had shot him in the balls. Roberts could tell that Green was in a lot of pain and could see that his testicles were very swollen and that his penis was injured. She got Green back into bed and tried to comfort him and to convince Skinner and Cole to take him to a hospital, but they refused, saying that Green had injured himself during a bad trip. 14. As Green became more lucid over the next few hours, he started telling Skinner that he was sorry he slept with his girlfriend and that he thought that they were friends. 10. Green begged Roberts to find out if Cole was involved in what was happening to him, so Roberts went down to the lobby with Cole for a few minutes to talk to her. By the time Roberts returned, Green was laying on the bed drooling, no longer able to speak, and Skinner told her that he just gave him something to put him to sleep. 15. After sitting with the now sleeping Green for a while, to make sure that he was still breathing, Roberts left and went to sleep in a different room on the 15th floor. When Roberts woke up the next morning, Cole told her that Green had left and was probably going to the police. Roberts testified that she believed Green had left on his own, since he was no longer in room 1411 and his car keys had been taken from the place where she had hidden them in that room. Roberts assumed everything was going to be fine after Green recovered from his trip. 11. Earlier that same morning of July 7, 2003, Skinner determined that Green needed to be moved out of room 1411 because a housekeeper had discovered that they were using that room without paying for it and had seen Green on the bed, and also to get Green away from Roberts. Skinner directed Hawk and Cole to move Green, then barely conscious, to Hawk's room on the 18th floor and to tell Roberts that Green had woken up and left the hotel. 16. Skinner then ordered Hawk, Cole, and Roberts to clean up the 14th floor rooms, which they did. After that, Skinner sent Roberts off with his luggage to get him a room at another hotel, and she did not return to the DoubleTree. Skinner gave Green further injections in the new room, in order to keep him from waking up. 12. On July 8, 2003, Skinner hatched a plan that Green's body would be totally shaved and then dumped in a remote area of Texas. 17. Skinner told Hawk to cut Green's long, blonde, curly hair, which he did. Skinner then sent Hawk to find a large wardrobe box in a bellman's cart. Hawk testified that when he returned, Green's head had been completely shaved, and that Skinner and Cole were also shaving his legs and eyebrows. 18. Hawk testified that after they finished, Skinner poured alcohol and Epsom salt on Green's body, claiming that it would destroy DNA evidence. 19. After Skinner gave Green an additional injection to keep him out, they dressed him, put him in the box, put the box on the hotel cart, rolled the cart out to Green's own car, which was parked in the hotel parking lot, wrapped him in a blanket, and then buckled Green's limp body into the front passenger seat. Skinner directed Hawk to drive to the Houston area, where Skinner would join them later, and gave Hawk an additional syringe to use on Green, in case he started waking up on the way. 13. Hawk testified that he never injected Green with anything, but that when Green started to wake up during the trip, Hawk hit him twice on the face and that Green was in enough of a weakened condition that it knocked him out. 20. Hawk testified that they arrived at a motel in the Houston area during the early morning hours of July 9, that when Green started waking up again, he tied him down to the bed in the room, and that they were joined by Cole and Skinner that afternoon. Green was held in this room until the evening of July 10, 2003. During this time, Skinner gave him additional injections to keep him unconscious and ordered Hawk to give Green oral antibiotics, claiming that it would help heal the injection marks. 14. During this time, Skinner also prepared a foul-smelling tea, which he both forced Green to drink and injected him with, causing Green to vomit violently. Both Hawk and Green testified about a particularly disturbing thing that Green vomited up, which had little worm-like things inside it, and that Skinner claimed was a parasite sac. 21. In addition, and at the direction of Skinner, Green's eyes were covered and he was told that if he took the covering off, his retinas would be burned. Skinner then pretended to be a Swedish doctor, who had come to help Green, but who actually tormented him and put suppositories and perhaps other things in Green's anus. 22. 15. Late in the day on July 10, Skinner directed Hawk to take Green and dump him, along with his car, in a deserted area in rural Texas, where it would be unlikely that Green would be found or get help quickly. 23. Cole was directed to follow Hawk, who was driving Green's car, and to bring Hawk back after he had dumped Green. Green was given a final injection by Skinner before they left. Cole and Hawk stopped at a convenience store on the way to buy some water and chocolate candy to leave with Green, since they knew that he had not had any food and only limited fluids since the whole ordeal began. They then drove to an area along a highway outside of Texas City, Texas. Hawk testified that he decided to leave Green in a field along the highway, which was between a busy county road and a busy interstate, because he believed it would give Green the best chance. 24. Hawk then placed Green, still nearly catatonic, on a blanket on the ground next to the car, leaving the keys to the car and the food and water inside, with the doors locked. 25. 16. Green testified that his first memory that night was of hearing his car door open and being picked up by Hawk, like you would a little baby, and being placed down in the grass, and that he was so grateful that he was going to be allowed to sleep. When Green woke up later that night, Hawk was gone. Green crawled to his car, only to find that even though his car keys were visible on the driver's seat, all the doors were locked, and he wept. The next morning, Green began a long, painful crawl to the highway, since he could hear traffic. Green testified that he would crawl a few feet and would then pass out, before waking up to crawl a few more feet, that he used his shoes as a pillow, and that he brought along the blanket he had found in the grass. 26. 17. Green's naked and nearly lifeless body was found along the Texas highway by Texas City Police Officer Neil Mora, around 8:00 a.m., on July 11, 2003. Mora testified that he wasn't sure what he was seeing at first, that Green had a blanket around his lower half, and that he was very weak and just completely pale, when he looked more closely. Mora could see numerous cuts on Green's head and bruising all over his body. Mora commented that Green looked pretty horrific. Green was taken to the Mainland Medical Center in Texas and put in the intensive care unit. 18. At trial, the jury was shown a video of Green, which was taken at the hospital within a few hours after he was found. 27. The jury was also shown pictures of Green's battered body, including extensive bruising and ligature marks from being tied up, and his incredibly swollen, discolored, and damaged genitals. Green testified that he spent about a week in the hospital, during which time his lung collapsed due to the trauma he had endured. He noted that he was unable to walk even when he was released, and that he remained in a wheelchair for months. In addition, Green testified that even though it had been nearly 3 years since the ordeal, he continued to need weekly medical care, and that he had constant pain and nerve damage in his groin area and a large mass in his left testicle. Green noted that he had done a lot of research, including parasite research, trying to figure out what exactly Skinner had injected him with, because he had suffered from numerous illnesses since the kidnapping and been unable to fully recover. In particular, Green testified that despite his concerted efforts to man up since the kidnapping, he remained unable to put on weight or gain muscle mass. 28.